behind on so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a moment or time or like a story you can give about a pivotal coach and a pivotal like thing that helped you with?
Yeah, yeah. I've actually had the privilege of doing some work with Robin Sharma. For those that don't know him, he's kind of the author behind books like The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, The 5 a.m. Club, The Leader Who Had No Title.
I've heard these books, never read them.
Yeah, and so he for me was such a impactful force on the personal development journey because he introduced to me this concept of personal mastery, right? And so what does it actually look like to be so committed to finding your own unique version of personal mastery? And what are the things that get in the way? Ego, the fear of looking foolish. We don't want to look stupid. Are we're so worried about what other people think that we're not even being authentic. We're not even doing the things that require continuous improvement. And I was there. I mean, when I had a lot of corporate success early on in my career, where I was a 30-year-old senior executive title running or helping run $1 billion publicly traded company, a lot of things can happen in that scenario. And one of those things is that success can breed complacency. It always does, right? You can't think that you're going to be an exception. If you've had a lot of success, complacency will be there ready to knock on your door. You've heard championship teams talk all the time. Far more difficult to repeat the second time than it was to win the first time.
I would also call it a level of comfort. Outside of complacency, it's more, there's no catalyst, there's no reason to change, there's no reason to put in the half extra step, the extra step.
Yeah, because look at what I've done. Look at what
Yeah.
I've achieved.
Yeah.
Look how great I am. I've got this thing all figured out, right? And that's the 1-2 punch. You get comfortable to where you at, and before you even know it, like a thief in the night, complacency sneaks its way in. And for me, that was an eye-opening experience. And understanding what the best of the best do to find their level of personal mastery, and then looking at myself where I kind of let some of this success go to my head, inflate my ego. I was in cruise control. It was that feeling eating away at me. I knew I wasn't operating at the best version of myself. I mean, Michael Jordan had a coach. Steve Jobs had a coach. Tiger Woods has a coach. I mean, it's like if the best of the best have this support system around them, I had a little bit of success in my 20s and just thought that I could go in cruise control. His concept of personal mastery was that I almost kind of consider it the electric shock paddles to the system that woke me up and made me realize that I'm operating with basically about a 30% of what I know my full potential to be, and really got me back into a growth mode of saying, instead of me resting on what I've already achieved, get committed and install the discipline to find out what more I'm capable of, what more greater impact I can make. And that changed my life. It changed my whole trajectory. It changed everything that I started doing from that point on. And had I not discovered those concepts and have that engagement, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. That's for sure, helping other people, find and tap into those same higher levels of performance.
One counter to that I would make is, how do you know what you're capable of? Because again, to my earlier question, I was listening to another podcast where they were like, oh, I was making 100K salary and making 500K a year was just unimaginable. It was just not even in the question. Because you're making 100, 200K in tech, maybe you'll go up 5, 10%, 20%. But the thought never occurred that, oh, I could make $1 million a year. It's just, but once you start, okay, like instead of going 2x, how do I make $1 million? How do I make 2 million, 3 million?
Yep.
Once you start thinking on those lines, you may not have the answer, but now you start questioning everything of like, hey, why am I stuck in this 100, 200 range?
That's right.
But I feel like it takes a lot of maturity to break out of what you don't know, right? So how do you figure out what are you capable of? How do you even know like where that goes? Okay, I know I'm not doing something right now.
Yep.
I know I can do better.
Right.
But is better 1.2x? Is better 10% more, 20% more? Is better like a 10x increase? How do you judge what that capability level is?
You know what? That question speaks to what holds so many people back. And what sits underneath that, kind of the underlying psychology, is a focus on the outcome, right? From, well, what if I wanted to make 1 million? What if I wanted to get to this level? What if I wanted to get to that level? The priority and the focus is put on this shiny object that's blinking at you from on top of the mountain, right? The perspective shift that I would take is focus on the journey. Focus on that very next step. And sometimes, look, for you to keep making progress, you don't have to know what the ceiling is.
Makes sense.
What instead, if you started to commit to just getting 1% better every day, 1% better every week, and watch that compound, because everybody that has reached the top, everybody that is considered the best of the best, are all surprised by their success, right? They didn't, this is not what Elon Musk was dreaming up when he was a kid. And I mean, there's example after example after example that if you stay true to the process, you keep grinding away, not focused on what the potential outcome could be or the potential ceiling, but you're leveraging the most magical creation known to man, which is you're generating compound interest for yourself. So who knows is the real question. No one's going to know what you're fully capable of, what your full potential is, but there is one way to find out, and that's continuing to show up to get better and better and better each and every day. Keep fighting complacency, staying away from the comfort zone, and you just never know through that process, and not the focus on the outcome, but the focus on the process, what new doors are going to open that are going to have 100 more behind them. The one thing that I can guarantee you is that you'll never be able to open that door if you get stuck in status quo. If you let the complacency bug bite and you stop getting better, that is a surefire way for that ceiling of whatever max potential is to keep lowering and lowering and lowering. But I think it's never meant to be, this is not a finite game we're talking about here. I think this is more of the infinite game, that the way that I would recommend looking at this is this year's ceiling can be next year's floor, right? And so if you continue,
go up from there.
Right. And who knows where the max ceiling is, but with more experience, with more reps, with more focus, with more commitment, you should be able to continue getting better and better and better and better until who knows when. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of the message is, it's not always about the outcome. And as a matter of fact, you got to be able to do this work blindly of not knowing what the outcome is going to be, trusting in the process that if you focus on continued improvement, keep generating progress on your own path towards personal mastery, the opportunities for massively impactful outcomes will show up.
Can you give an example of someone you're working with, and we don't have to talk names, but more just, hey, they were in X spot, walk them through a program, and then whatever system you have, and then they were able to do X. Do you have an example that?
Yeah, I've got